Hello, dear fans, friends, and subscribers. Welcome to the daily cricket show, Cricket Happenings, with your host Ram. And I welcoming you here on this Cricket Happening show. Today, it's going to be the first ODI One Day International of the Chapel Hadley Trophy series that kicked off yesterday between the Aussies, the Australia, and New Zealand. And Australia ran up a very big total of 324 runs thanks to Stephen Smith, the captain, who registered his best ever score in one day internationals as he cracked 164 runs. And that was the one which paved the victory for Australia in this match, as Australia won this particular first one day international, taking a 1-0 lead in the three-match ODI series, as Australia won the match by 68 runs. Well, as far as the New Zealand were concerned, it was, even though Australia won the match, New Zealand would be very, very happy with the performance of Martin Guptill, the opener, as Martin Guptill really gave that firepower that was lacking. As one thought that without Brendan McCullum, New Zealand would be lacking the firepower. But the firepower came from Martin Guptill's bat, but to no avail, I would say, because New Zealand lost the match. But Martin Guptill, in 40 one-day internationals, has never registered a one-day international century against the Aussies, and today he came up with the goods, and he came up with a big one at that, as he made 114 of 102 balls with 10 fours and 6 monstrous sixes. So let's get on to business here as far as the first match of the Chapel Hadley Trophy series was concerned. So Australia, who actually against South Africa, they got a drubbing, as you would remember. But and again, as you know, Smith was always losing the toss, but this time the rub of the green went Stephen Smith, the Australian captain's way, as Steve Smith won the toss and decided that his boards would bat first. For New Zealand, the very, very pacey bloke, his name is Ferguson, is Lockie Ferguson, who was unleashed yesterday, and we definitely saw that he was someone who was bowling at 150 clicks. So it all started with Australia winning the toss and David Warner and Finch, and what a start for New Zealand there, as it was, the bowler was Matt Henry. Matt Henry was he bowled a few good deliveries to Warner, and with the third delivery of the match, Aaron Finch was a victim, as Aaron Finch actually incised the delivery onto his stumps from Matt Henry, which really came back and hit the furniture of Finch. So Finch was gone for naught, which made it 1 for 1, and Warner was there at the other end with Stephen Smith coming in. And we immediately saw when Trent Boult was bowling, the ball was really, really moving about. It was nicely swinging away, and one thought life is going to be difficult there, because Boult was really getting the ball to swing, and also Boult had actually upped his pace a bit. He was also bowling in the 140 region, and while this was going on, we saw that things were slowly settling down, as after the dismissal of Aaron Finch, the opener, for naught, and Stephen Smith was looking in fine nick. He was beautifully playing the ball through the legs. He was also nicely getting on to a very good position when playing the balls on the offside. And David Warner was also David Warner, definitely, I would say, with the movement that Trent Boult was getting. Boult was the one who was keeping David Warner very quiet, and Matt Henry on the other end also started doing that. And there were 20 balls where the Aussies were not able to score, as Warner and Smith went about their business and slowly tried to settle things, as they consumed 10 overs with a score rating 47. And that was the time this young quickie by the name Lockie Ferguson was unleashed by Williamson onto the Aussie batting. He made 2 changes there. He got Lockie Ferguson on one end, and he brought Grant home on the other. And Lockie Ferguson, the first delivery that he received was a real belter, I would say, because Warner just belted it right down the ground for 4, and then in the third delivery he actually pulled Lockie Ferguson for 4, and at that time Lockie Ferguson was probably bowling at the range of 145 clicks. Just talking about Lockie Ferguson, has a nice run up to the wicket, and as I think he has a nice bowling action. But what is good about Lockie Ferguson that one was seeing was that he was really hitting the deck hard, and he was generating some extreme pace. And when someone generates extreme pace in the region of 150 clicks, it really says. And that was in the same over where Warner had actually hit 2 boundaries in Lockie Ferguson's over. Lockie Ferguson had the last laugh as he really ramped up the pace, as the ball that consumed Warner was coming at 148 clicks, and David Warner tried to actually play at the delivery, but the ball actually inside it onto the bat and went to hit the stumps. And Lockie Ferguson was pretty happy about it as he got his maiden test wicket. And one really saw that New Zealand have unearthed a bowler of extreme pace by the name Lockie Ferguson. So David Warner was gone, bowled by Ferguson for 24 of 29 deliveries with 4 fours. Bailey walked in. George Bailey definitely had a sort of a very peculiar stance. He actually, when looking at George Bailey, he has actually changed his stance a bit, where he actually, when he settles down, his back leg is outside the stumps, and what he does is when the bowler bowls, he gets the shuffle on to the front side. Basically shuffles, he gets the leg in line with his with the other leg, and basically tries to play the ball, and probably gives him more room for actually playing offside strokes. That was what the opinion was from the commentators at the Channel 9, as Bailey along with Smith. And then slowly we saw that Bailey and Smith were in the middle, and then Bailey, after making 17, after hitting one good 6, was a victim as Jimmy Neesham picked up his wicket, and that was brilliantly done by Watling. This was one catch where Stephen Smith was dropped. As you know, it was a nice effort, but in this case Watling did the similar effort and it met with results as Bailey was gone. Caught Watling bowled Neesham for 17 of 25 deliveries with 1 6, which made the score 89 for 3 as Mitchell Marsh walked in. Now, what an unlucky start for Mitchell Marsh. Stephen Smith, as I said, was looking very, very good at the crease, no doubt about it. He actually drove the ball and it actually hit Neesham's fingers and went on to hit the stumps, with Mitchell Marsh being caught off ground, and Mitchell Marsh was gone, run out for 1 as the score read 92 for 4. And now Australia definitely had to think a bit with the score on 92 for 4, but Stephen Smith was there to actually fight it out there as Travis Head joined him. Now Travis Head happened to be sort of a good company for Stephen Smith, and since Travis Head normally is an aggressive player, but he decided to bide his time, and probably Stephen Smith was nurturing Travis Head, and this partnership from 92 really went to great proportions thanks to Stephen Smith, who was really belting boundaries. He was really playing some nice strokes on the onside and also on the offside, and Stephen Smith was going very well. Now Stephen Smith, just for you friends and subscribers, there was one particular delivery from, I think it was, if I'm not wrong, the Trent Bolt, and Stephen Smith was given not out. I mean, the review was not done. I mean, they didn't go for the review, and once when the replay was showed, one thought that the ball was hitting the stump. So Stephen Smith, these things happen in cricket, one has to really take it, but Stephen Smith profited that in a big way as this partnership really blossomed thanks to Travis Head giving him company, and this partnership really started going leaps and bounds, one could say, as the majority of the runs were scored by Stephen Smith, no doubt about it, as the partnership went on and actually took the score past the 200 mark as they stood at 219 in the 42nd over. And then Trent Bolt, coming for his second spell, had Travis Head caught and bowled not before Travis Head got to his second one-day international 50, out for 52 of 60 deliveries with 5 fours. Stephen Smith needed someone to actually stay with him, and that's what precisely Travis Head did for the team. After that, Matthew Wade came in, and Matthew Wade looked in his element. I mean, with 40 in the 42nd over, when Head departed, Matthew Wade came in and he started pounding sixes of the New Zealand bowlers as he hit a quick fire 38 of just 22 deliveries with 1 4 and 3 sixes. And Smith was going strong. He had passed the 150 mark, And finally, Stephen Smith was dismissed. Trent Boult actually picked up his wicket. Stephen Smith was gone for 164 of 157 deliveries, 14 fours and 4 sixes, and this happened to be his best effort in one-day internationals. In the sense, Stephen Smith got his highest score in one-day international cricket, and also broke the record for the highest score by an Australian player at the Sydney Cricket Ground. After that, it was pretty quick going. Wade made a quick fire 38 and departed. Cummins was not out on none. Mitchell Starc was claimed by Neesham for 11 of 5 with 2 fours. Zampa was not out on 2, and Australia, thanks to Stephen Smith's innings, rode on to a very big score of 324 for 8. Looking at the bowling figures does not make any happy reading if you look at the bowling figures. Matt Henry initially bowled well, 10 overs, 2 for 74. Trent Boult, 10 overs, 1 for 251. I thought he was the pick of the bowlers according to me. Lockie Ferguson on his first match, definitely the inexperience showed in the final stages when Lockie Ferguson was taken apart by the Aussie players. Now, when a bowler bowls with such extreme pace, and we saw that Lockie Ferguson on his debut was clocking 150. In fact, in one particular over, one could really discern the fact that he was bowling at 150 clicks on a very consistent rate, and that really says something about this bloke. And I would say the first impression of Lockie Ferguson, he looks to be a real bowler, real fast bowler in the making for New Zealand, and that is good news. But nevertheless, he will learn from mistakes. 9 overs, no maiden, 1 for 73 was his bowling figures. Colin de Grandhomme, 6 overs for 27. Santner, 9 overs, none for 40, also did a good job. Neesham, 6 overs, no maiden, 2 for 58. Now, Australia, after running up a very good total of 324, they definitely would have had one thing in mind, that India actually hunted down a score of 331 on the same ground when Australia set them 331 runs for victory. And that would have been definitely on the back of Stephen Smith's mind. And I'm sure Australia would have tightened up matters there. It all started with the New Zealand openers Martin Guptill and Tom Latham getting on, but the start was not good at all. Josh Hazlewood put the New Zealand on the back foot right away, as first he clean bowled Latham for 2 of 6 deliveries, and then Kane Williamson was caught by Smith in the slips of the bowling of Hazlewood for 9 with 2 boundaries. The new Cherry doing the trick there for the Aussies, as the New Zealand were really set back with a score on 34 for 2 with 2 wickets going to Josh Hazlewood. Martin Guptill was there in the centre. He got James Neesham, and Martin Guptill, well, he was looking very, very powerful. He was creaming boundaries at will, and he was willing to go over the top in the power play overs, and he was doing a fine job for his team. It was very, very good to note. Neesham came in. Neesham was giving him good company, and the partnership slowly started helping New Zealand actually recover from the early blows, as this particular partnership added 92 very good runs for the 3rd wicket to really I would say settle matters a bit as things were going on. But then Mitchell Starc picked up the wicket of Jimmy Neesham, getting him caught by Hazlewood for 34 of 36 deliveries with 5 fours. But Martin Guptill at the other end was going real strong. He was also biffing 6s of the spinners too. And then we saw BJ Watling coming in. BJ Watling did not last long, made only 6, but what a brilliant catch by Stephen Smith at backward point. The ball was screaming along from as Watling actually got a ball short and wide. He tried to crim it through the backward point region, and I would say it was a real blinder, because Stephen Smith just clung on. I mean, he just dived with his left hand, and the ball stuck. And it also left Stephen Smith a bit stunned that he actually picked up the cap. The ball was screaming, I would say, and that was it. So that was a marvelous catch by Stephen Smith, as BJ Watling was on his way back out for 6. Colin Munro came in, and Martin Guptill definitely needed someone to actually stand with him. And then when Colin Munro came in, he started giving company to Martin Guptill. Guptill, on the other hand, had raced to his century, and then Adam Zampa, the leg spinner, actually picked up 2 wickets very, very quickly. As first he dismissed the very dangerous Martin Guptill, as Martin Guptill, who got his first ever century against the Aussies in one-day international. In the sense, this was his first century against Australia, as he made 114 of 102 balls with 10 fours and 6 glorious sixes being hit. And Guptill, as you know, he's a player who actually likes to play the strokes down the ground very well. He's straight down the wicket. He's very powerful. His predominant areas of hitting are the long on and the long off region, as Martin Guptill went on in his merry fashion. And that was a big wicket that Australia direly needed, and they got it, and that really helped them to really wrap up this game, as Martin Guptill was gone. And also Zampa actually, when he picked up Mitchell Santner's wicket caught by Warner, Zampa has 30 wickets in the whole year in one-day internationals, and he now happens to be the leading wicket taker in one-day internationals in the year 2016 with 30 wickets. Adam Zampa, the right-arm leg spinner. So 187 for 6 in the 35th over. Now Colin Munro was still there, so hope was still there for the Kiwis, as Colin Munro is one of those players who can really take off like a rocket. And Colin Munro was there, hope was there, as Granholm joined him. And Granholm, as you know, he definitely showed in the series against Pakistan that he's one who likes to belt the ball with very little feet movement, and but that was not to be today, as Granholm was consumed LBW, bowled Hazelwood for 6 of 8 deliveries with 1-4, as Matt Henry walked in now to join Colin Munro. So as long as Colin Munro is there, New Zealand still had some hope left there with the score on when Granholm departed 203, but they still had 13 overs to go. And as I said, Colin Munro is such a bloke who can really get into real business there, because he has that power of hitting some big sixes. But that was not to be, as Matt Henry did his bit in contributing 27 of 15 dealt with 4 fours and 1 6, but he was a goner, as Cummins actually picked this wicket caught by Bailey. And after that, Colin Munro, realizing that with only Lockie Ferguson bowled to come, Colin Munro had to take it upon himself, as he really started chancing his arm, and in one of those chancing arm decisions, he actually chanced his arm at the bowling of Cummins. Bailey picked up the catch. Munro was gone for 49 with 59 deliveries, 4 fours and 1 6, and thus hindered the hopes of New Zealand, as the New Zealand innings ground to a halt, being 256 all out when the debutant Lockie Ferguson lost his stumps to the bowling of Mitchell Marsh for naught. Trent Boult was not out on 1, 256 all out, and Australia winning the first of the Chappell Hadley Trophy one-day internationals here by 68 runs. As far as the bowling was concerned from the Aussies, Mitchell Starc, 7 overs, 1 made 1 for 37. He was on the money, one could say. Hazelwood did a fine job too, 10 overs, 3 for 49. Mitchell Marsh, 8.2 overs, 138 runs and 2 wickets, also plugged on very well. Cummins was costly, but picked up 2 for 62 in the closing stages. Adam Zampa, as I said, one of the highest wicket takers in the year, as far as I think it's as far as spinners go. Adam Zampa has picked up 30 wickets in the year 2016 in one-day internationals, as Adam Zampa's bowling figures at 10 overs. He was carted, but nevertheless he picked up 2 important wickets at that, and that was one of those was the marauding Martin Guptill, who was really doing very well. As Stephen Smith, the Aussie captain, took the man of the match, and the 3-match series, Australia go 1-0 here in the Chappell Hadley Trophy one-day international series, and with 2 to come. And what a match we had here. An excellent start to the proceedings as far as the Chappell Hadley Trophy one-day international series was concerned. Well, other than that, dear fans and subscribers, I have nothing else to add. That's about it as far as today's cricket show is concerned. There'll be more of this Cricket Happening show coming up tomorrow. Till such time that happens, this is your host Ram, signing off this on a Sunday. Thank you.